Yeah, definitely. I have a few friends who just graduated high school. They're currently tapping into AI, researching about deep learning, uh, AI in general. And yeah, my personal take on AI, a lot of people are freaking out about AI. They're freaking out that AI is gonna take over the world or something. I think of AI as more of a tool, right? I don't really think AI can control like humanity as a whole. That is very, very difficult. That's near
No, I
impossible.
mean if there's like a robot AI, then it may be different.
There's a robot
Like a
AI,
physical
yes,
robot AI.
yes, but like a physical robot AI still has its limitations. It's just one robot out of, 8 billion people in the world, and all the technology, all the resources we have. I think of AI as more as a very useful tool, right?
Hmm.
You can compare this to back to the information revolution or technology revolution. Pretty sure people were freaking
Industrial
out about it.
Revolution, kind
No,
of.
no, no. Like the information revolution. People were
Ah, oh yeah.
people were freaking out like
Hmm.
a lot over concerns of technology.
Hmm.
They were they were worried that technology is going to take over the world. But now, I mean, technology has pretty much taken over the world. We rely on it heavily, but it does not control us. We control technology, but we still rely on it, and that is my take on AI. I'm pretty sure we're gonna rely on it, but it won't have full control over us.
I
It'll
mean,
be a very, very useful resource in the future.
I kind of disagree with you a little bit because, um, like I feel like so I researched this before. I actually created a project on this before. There are such things called nanoweapons. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there are books written about how nanoweapons could just wipe out humanity. And nanoweapons are basically these very little metal bugs that swarm things. They literally swarm things, right? They suffocate them, they basically choke them and whatever. So I like if they're robot AIs, if they're robot AIs and they're against us somehow, and that's the problem with creativity, right? If they're robot AIs that are creative and that are so smart and then they're against us, then they may plot to create, I don't know, some nano weapons that can swarm us or like get some ultra crazy weapons and build it onto the next robots or something like that. Like that's crazy. And I see a lot of these movies about how AI robots in the future will get so powerful with like the weapons they have equipped or whatever, and will try to like eliminate humanity or fight humanity or whatever. And I think that's what most people are scared of, and what I'm kind of scared of. But I think we're lucky that AI doesn't have creativity because if AI had creativity, then uh, I think that would be really bad for humanity. Uh, and that's what I take on this belief of AI. I still think that AI is really great. I think that AI on software is amazing. AI on hardware is also great, but AI robots are just scary. So there is this big question I see everywhere basically. So AI is this hot trend, hot topic. So what is AI like in schools, specifically high schools or schools in general? Like how can AI be used? And I see OpenAI. I don't know how many of you guys in the audience knows about OpenAI, but it's of course founded by Elon Musk, who, as you guys know, is the owner of Twitter and CEO and founder of Tesla and SpaceX. Uh, OpenAI is in beta right now. It costs a lot of money. I believe it costs, I don't know the exact amount. I think a couple $100. Uh, but basically what OpenAI does is you can ask OpenAI any question. You can ask it like any chemistry question, any mathematical question, whatever, and it answers any question you have, and it's just brilliant. Like back when there's COVID, you could cheat on tests with OpenAI, right? Uh, you can literally search everything on tests up with the OpenAI beta version, and it was amazing. Uh, and even though this is bad for schools because schools intend to teach students as opposed to have students cheat on tests or homework assignments, I still find it really cool. Uh, and not only that, I feel like in the future there are going to be definitely other creations that schools are going to use or students are going to use in school with AI. Uh, what do you think about other creations in the future, Ivan, with schools using it?
I mean, AI in general has I see a very big business opportunity. It's a untapped market dominated by these big AI startups like OpenAI.
Hmm.
So I definitely see a lot of business opportunity, like, even in the education sector. Um, you know, AI is more of like a tool than something kind of spoiling or harming the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can compare it to a calculator, right? It's a tool. I don't think, like, without a calculator, we would probably be pretty smart at, calculating large digits and doing all of these like functions.
I mean, I agree with you
But
that it's a tool,
it's
but
just it's yeah, it's saving time. That's what it's doing. It's just saving time.
I mean, I agree that it's a tool, but imagine if, like, I know that a lot of some colleges are still online probably. Imagine if students use OpenAI to cheat on tests and quizzes online and they don't learn anything in class. Like they cheat on homework, tests, and quizzes because of this great framework that reduces time, but it has all the answers basically you need in the educational department.
Like I said, students cheating on tests and stuff with OpenAI, that is partly due to the fault of the U.S. education, as is not very uh, personalized for students. It's a very fixed system. Everyone has the capability of learning, and I think it's better if people learn what they're interested in,
Hmm.
given their goals and dreams they want to achieve. I still see open or these AI softwares as more of a tool, right? Because in the
Hmm.
future, we're gonna, instead of learning, basic math functions, basic laws of scientific laws, we would be discussing more advanced topics, whatever that is undiscovered out there, we may be teaching it to kids in the future. And AI will be there to, to be a tool for these kids to use.
So Ivan, I feel like lately there are so many applications and web applications and companies in general that are in the school industry, like Google Classroom, Google in general. There's also Schoology, Schooloop, and of course some of these even note-taking and to-do list applications like Todoist, Evernote, etc. And people I don't know. I feel like people kind of gave up on the industry somewhat because there are already so many companies that are here. But do you see any improvements we can make, like any additions we can make in order to solve certain school problems that aren't solved yet? I don't know if that question made sense necessarily, but
I feel like the productivity market right now is oversaturated completely.
mhm, I agree.
Kids are getting quite overwhelmed with all of these services that are provided out there, to-do list, Notion, and a lot of other softwares. So I definitely see opportunity with AI in this field, in this sector, because there could be a service that does it all if it's AI. And yeah,
Or what if you would combine every company together? Like every school company, like Schoology-esque company combined with combined with study sessions, combined with uh of course there are to-do lists in school or Schoology type esque app, but you can add more to-do lists in order to like for laundry or dishwasher and like various other school editions like Khan Academy, and all of this stuff is combined as well. Study guides, Quizlets, other stuff. Like, how would you view like a super app of all of the school-related companies and apps? How would you view a super app of all of that stuff?
the idea of a super app is basically the same idea of, a super social media app, combining Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of
Hmm.
these social media apps. It's generally going to be detrimental because first of all, it's going to be a monopoly in that
Hmm.
sector, and second of all, it's just near impossible to do it. It's just very difficult
I mean,
to try to switch.
when you're an entrepreneur, it's important to never say no, though, right?
I mean, yeah, definitely, you can never say no, but you have to, think ahead, consider every possibility, think of its worth, whether you're willing to spend the time and effort on it. A lot of things out there are definitely doable and they're great ideas, but is it worth, going for it? Because you have to consider the profits as well. You want to make, you want to, earn as much, you want to earn as much profits while doing the least amount of work.
I mean, I think the biggest problem in this sector is, of course, there are so many companies, and as you mentioned, it's kind of going to become a monopoly. And once it's going to be a monopoly, people are going to use that more than they use their previous products, right? Like, for example, Quizlet, Todoist, right? Imagine if that's all in this application or project or whatever. People are going to use this project more than these various smaller subsidies, which will be a very negative effect to a lot of employees who work here and also the companies themselves because I feel like they'll tumble down because as a result of this kind of.
Well, if it if the monopoly turns out to be too large and too detrimental to the education sector, I feel like there would be, government regulations
Yeah.
placed on the monopoly or the business.
Yeah, like a
I
price.
still
Like,
I still think with I mean, if we with government regulations, we really shouldn't have to worry about this whole monopoly thing. There'll definitely be competition because even if you're creating like a super app, other businesses would be creating super apps as well, other startups.
yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be more of like in the perfect competition sector then. But at the same time, I feel like the if you're the original one, if you're the first one, then there are gonna be less competition in the beginning, and it's really hard for people to transition and change from product to product. So, I feel like in the beginning they'll start using your product, and then they'll continue using the product. So, yeah,
That's the entire idea of a business is user engagement and user
yeah.
outreach.
And anyways, this concludes our podcast, our first episode in the podcast titled Every Other Morning. I hope you enjoyed our spiel, so to say. Uh, if you have any feedback, leave it in the comments down below. Uh, and we'll see you guys in the next episode, which is after tomorrow, the other day.